it wasn't, but we still learned a lot. And so anyways, now we have this angel of a dog, but I still feel like, you know, training and human training as well as dog training is necessary. So we watched an episode of the Dog Whisperer last night, and it gave good perspective for the family.
So we're now live.
Sorry, I'm late.
And Mr. Michael, welcome. And are we also recording now?
I can hear myself twice.
Very good.
Great.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Grand Marais Public Library on Thursday, March 25th, 2021 at 5:10 p.m. I'll call the meeting to order. We'll do a roll call. Kevin LeVoir.
Here.
Michael Gary.
Here.
Sarah McManus.
Here.
And David Mills. Here. We have a quorum. Also joining us, Amanda and Kristen. Thank you for being here. First item, I'd just like to see if there's any adjustments to the agenda. Otherwise, I'd look for a motion to approve the agenda.
I would so move.
Thank you, Mr. Michael. Is there a
Second.
second? Thank you, Kevin. We'll do a roll call vote. Michael?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
And Dave is aye as well. We can move on to, I'm sorry, that was included in the consent agenda.
Yeah.
We can, was that the intention? Was just to pass the consent agenda there? Mr. Michael, in your motion?
Yeah, that's what I saw the consent agenda and I was thinking about
Very
that.
good. Yeah. My mistake. Thank you. Moving on beyond that, we go right to Library Director's Report. Not an item there, but Amanda, I know you always have good things to share and updates.
I do, and I make it up on the fly to make sure we're covering all the goody goods. So I think I put this in the written report, but we had 37 people participating in the, nope, I didn't put it in there. We had 37 participants in the winter reading remote program. So that's really fantastic. And for those families, we were providing grab bags on a biweekly or monthly basis, depending on what the family liked and if they wanted it. And then also they were completing reading logs for either a certain number of minutes that they're reading or a certain number of books. And everyone who participated got a gift certificate to either Drury Lane Books or to the Big Lake. It's a voucher where they can go redeem the voucher for a book of their choice. So it's super exciting. In the library, we are still operating by appointment. We are, however, expanding what that looks like so that families will be able to use the library better than they have. So we were having an appointment where you were limited to having 2 people in your group. We're changing that to 6 people so that you could have a family group. And we do 2 appointments at one time, so that could potentially be 12 people in the library at a time. And this is also getting us prepared to move forward with a more open library. I'm looking at putting us in alignment with the other businesses in the area, for example, the grocery stores and retail, where there would be a set number of people, which would be 12. So we're kind of practicing with our doors closed for that. There would be 12 people allowed in the building at a time. And if we were getting busy or having mass compliance issues, we'd staff the door. So that's where we're headed. I'm looking at that for mid-April or May. We are also, staff and I have all been in conversation about mask compliance and kind of the best ways to handle different scenarios of people choosing or not to wear their mask over nose and mouth. And it's really important that we talk about infants because, again, it's blocking our families. So if you have a single parent at home with an infant, but we don't allow anybody in the building with no mask over nose and mouth, it becomes an issue. So as we're moving forward, we're also going to allow under 2 unmasked, as is mandatory by the ordinance for safety. So everybody else will still have to comply. I think that's a pretty generous move towards getting everybody back in, and we're excited about what we're doing, and I hope you are too. Those are the key points of my report today.
Great, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Amanda? Mr. Michael?
Yeah, so I'm wondering, is there already described somewhere what the capacity is for the building? So that, I mean, I know you've chosen 12. Is 12 the capacity, or is it some other number?
It's very complex how the number is determined, especially in our space because we're a multi-use building. Kristen and I did a ton of work trying to follow the guidance for your square footage and how each space is used, whether you're sitting or walking or checking out or doing all of this. Our preparedness plan will allow for up to 20 people in the building, and that's again, I don't know how you figure out half of your normal business or capacity, but it's very generous on the low risk side of things to limit to 20. And so we're just kind of creeping up towards 20, and thinking that if we had that many, I mean, part of it is visual for our space because it's multi-use. So we're thinking, yeah, like 20 people would be feeling pretty crowded right now.
And when you say, if I can follow up, when you say 20 people, you mean 20 people, not including staff. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, and so 20 people is allowed in the preparedness plan, but the intention is to start with the 12 potentially if it's 2 groups of 6, but probably you're not always going to have 2 groups of 6, right? Probably a group of 2 and a group of 4, or that kind of thing would be my guess. But you would know much better than me as you're there, and I just visit from now and then. So, and yeah, I would concur too. If I was trying to imagine being in your shoes, 20 people would seem like quite a lot. So I think starting with that 12 also. That seems like a lot to me, but I don't know how often that'll happen, and it is how best you guys or how you, Amanda, see operating. So thank you for working on that, and yeah, it is complex and tricky, and I appreciate looking at things as quickly and as safely, and also providing the service as best we can. So. Does anyone else have questions or concerns for that matter?
Well, if not, I do. I just want to continue drilling on the numbers. So just so I'm understanding, you had said 2 groups of 6, and those 6 people would each be related. So that's the total of 12. I was starting to get a feeling that we were talking about 12 as a total capacity number, meaning not related. 12 different people. So we're saying both?
So what's happening is we're preparing to transition from having appointment-based, the doors are closed unless you have an appointment, to having the doors open but a limited to capacity. So for example, if you go to a grocery store, they'll say 12 people at a time. And then when they start getting really busy, they have someone at the front door to make sure that the numbers stay low. So right now, what we were doing is we would have up to 2 appointments scheduled at one time with no more than 2 people in a group. By bringing the number up to a total of 6 possible people from the same household in the group, then we're able to accommodate mom, dad, and some kids, or a mom or a grandmother with a few children, so that they can come in together as a family. And then as we transition, it would be not from the same household.
And as far as that's concerned, is that that next transition is yet to be determined, right? Or do you have something in mind? I mean, this to me sounds like a step, right, in that direction, and then kind of see how that goes and how well it's managed and all that, right, and how it's received and how it's used, and then go from there and into the next step, whenever that may be.
Yep, and so again, we're aiming for April or May to transition to having that available accessibility of the library, that someone can just appear here and come in to the library, pick up their books, to browse the library, to use the computer. We're still looking at enforcing that 30-minute time frame, and we are in contact with public health to make sure that our preparedness plan is in alignment, and also to answer some of the questions we have. I feel like when you're in a retail setting or a grocery setting, you're pretty focused on doing the one thing that you came for, and you kind of come in and come out. If you're having food, you come in, you get your food, you eat your food, and you kind of work your way back out. In the library, we're a little bit different, because although we have services that function in the same way, like browsing for the books that you're picking up, we are also a place to socialize and also to have extended stay without having to purchase anything. So again, we're still looking at that 30-minute time frame, and it really will depend. It really will depend on demand, how much we're able to do or not.
Do you have a time frame in mind as to how long you're going to wait in between your steps, or are you just purely playing it by ear?
So we're trying to define the parameters as a group. So everything that I do, I include all my staff in some of the decision making, or at least the conversations and thought processes. And then we use the services structures that we have in place to test certain things, like, which is what I was talking about a minute ago, about working with infants in a carrier or working with a larger group, and just getting a feel for what it is to have more people in the building. So if you want a date, we can certainly set one, but otherwise it's making sure that everybody feels that they have the instructions they need to do a good job, and also getting that confirmation from public health that our preparedness plan is in order. My hope here is that for certain that we would have an opportunity to have a low volume time to practice being open before we try to open in the midst of the tourist season. That's why I'm selecting April and May.
Yeah, Sarah.
Yeah, how busy are you with appointments currently?
We're not. We've actually, because of demand and request by customers for certain services that we've been offering, we've expected to get inundated each time that we expand our service, and we're not. And it may be that we are doing really soft progressions. So we don't talk about it on the radio or in the paper until we've tried it for a couple of weeks at least. And it may be that things are opening up. There's so, as the snow melts, you can be outside. So the pressure to have a place to go with your family is different. It's probably a mix of that. But right now, the demand is very low.
Well, and part of it may be, and this is not a knock at all, but part of it may be just the restrictions make it impractical for many people to, to use. And so maybe with some of these steps that will change. And yeah, I certainly do appreciate the step mentality to incrementally see what capacity is and how that dynamic works. So. Very good. Any other questions or comments or concerns? Hearing and seeing none. Thank you for the report and the update, Amanda. Let's see here. Moving on to committee reports. Finance Committee, Financial Committee, no report. Policy Committee. There was a meeting. I was not there. Does somebody else want to speak of it, or is it good enough just to say that these policies were identified and needing review, and that will be done at the committee level and then brought to us here? It looks like it's done a new business for the readoption, so I guess we can wait until then for discussion on it. Personnel Committee, no report. Communications, we got the little standards. If anyone has any questions or comments as I'm reading through this, please stop me. And I'm toggling between screens, so I can't always see you, but I'll hear you. Unfinished business. Certainly there always is, but nothing that we're going to be talking about tonight. And that brings us down to new business. Review the policies. Now, would anyone like to speak on said policies? Well, who is on the policy committee?
So it's Sarah and myself and Amanda and wait, who's the other person? There's somebody else.
And Sue.
Sue, that's it.
Okay, so Sue's not going to speak on this.
What?
Because she's not here. Is there anything to really point out or say about them? Were there changes to these policies? I'm not familiar enough with. I mean, clearly there's different names and phone numbers, right? But
right. When I'm trying to, I have actually lost my notes because I use paper, and I was gonna volunteer Amanda to speak on our behalf because she will remember all, I am certain, because it means a whole lot more to her. Not that I don't care, I care, but I just don't have it in my head.
So the board has elected to review policies on a 5-year basis. These 2 policies are due for review, and as far as Kristen and I are concerned, they need no revision. They're functioning very well. In particular, I'd make note about the hours of service policy, which served us really well in the pandemic. It gave the director permission to respond to a safety concern and provided instructions on what to do next. So even in this strange pandemic scenario, this worked really well, and I would recommend that we adopt them as is for another 5 years.
In the committee, was there any further discussion or any concerns brought up with them? I don't see any myself, but just
not with those. Yeah, those seem pretty straightforward. I didn't see, unless you did, Sarah, I certainly didn't see any reason not to just go ahead.
Nope, they're both in great shape and should be continued.
Great. Well, I certainly appreciate having them on a review schedule. That's very proactive and helpful, so that we don't have policies that don't make any sense, right? Well, that being said, I would entertain a motion to what's the wording here? Accept the review of these policies and the readoption.
I'll move to accept the readoption of the 2 policies.
Thank you, Kevin. We have a motion. Is there support?
I would second that.
Thank you, Michael. Do a roll call vote. Kevin?
Yes.
Michael?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
And I am as aye as well. Approved unanimously. Thank you for reviewing them and meeting. Next item is assess board development needs, and so this is something Amanda and I talked a little bit about, and we're all pretty new here, and thought it might be beneficial or useful if the board so desired to look into some board development or board training. One of the other factors in my mind is just the opportunities that virtual meetings provide. There's quite a range of training opportunities out there, and it could go from library specific, or it could just be general leadership training, or what have you. The whole gamut there. Or seeing as we are still in a pandemic, and virtual meetings do pose challenges, that maybe this isn't the right time for it. But I at least wanted to bring the idea up to the board and see what your thoughts are. Is this something we want to get our bearings with, as far as just let things settle out, let things get back to quote unquote normal, or is there a desire to really be more active and develop our board right now?
Yeah, I think more training obviously would be great for us all. You know, I find doing things online fine myself. Like, I'm able to take things in and work with it in that way. Again, you know, it's still the pandemic and things are happening. It always seems like we get busier than we think. You know, and then it's Grand Marais, so we're coming up onto summer. So I'm thinking that if we're going to do something, we may plan it for in the fall, or, you know, late summer might be a good time to think about doing something and plan, you know, maybe get a group of things that we want to choose from. I don't know where we get that group of things, but, you know, that would be an idea, and make sure that we're focusing on the ones that we really think will be useful.
Thank you.
I agree with Michael. I would definitely appreciate some board training, and some library specific training would be wonderful. And I think that timeline of giving us a couple months to look into options and then set things up for the fall seems doable.
Thank you.
Do you folks have a sense of any kind of requirements? Like, are you looking for something that would work within a board meeting, like short, every time we have a board meeting, something short that we focus on as a topic, as a standing agenda item? Are you looking for a one-time thing that happens outside of board meetings, that's a webinar or in person? And I don't know if you're interested in hearing kind of some of what might be available for you already, that we're already aware of. But maybe if we have a little sense of that, staff can group some ideas together for you to choose from. You're always welcome to do your own research also.
I was told to go to the librarian when I needed to do research. I would be interested in certainly things that we can do that are already available, that we could just do in our spare time as we feel needed. So if you're aware of things already, otherwise I can use the Google. And then I think probably more webinars or services outside of the board meeting would be best so that the board meetings don't become long.
I appreciate that. It's also ironic because in the recent past, board meetings tended to be long, and from my perspective, longer than they needed to be. And recently, they've been a lot more concise, and I've appreciated that as well. But it does make me feel like there is room for more, and so that was part of why I was asking the question: is, well, these are going pretty quick, and it is the pandemic, so we could maybe fit something in. But some of the other regional boards that I participate in do have mini training sessions every meeting, and there's certainly things I learn, but it doesn't have the same impact as some of the trainings I have outside of board meetings. So you can kind of go both ways. You can go all ways, right?
Yeah, I like the idea. I kind of like both. Like I like the idea of when I'm coming to my meetings, I know I'm going to get a little something. But I know that outside of a meeting, especially if it's one of those that I can actually control, like I can pause it and I can write something down and go back to it. That's really helpful. Of course, making sure that we're all kind of following the same syllabus or whatever would be important, so that we're kind of all following the same track more or less. So just my 2 cents.
Yeah, that's a great point. All being on a similar page is very, very helpful, very useful. And I feel like without really the intention of having mini sessions in the meeting, we still do get education just from Amanda's report and update. I feel like there's always aspects of the library that we learn about, and so that could be enough for that side of things. And then the Arrowhead Library System also offers trainings, and so just getting heads ups on those. And I have yet to attend one of those, I'm ashamed to say. But it would be really valuable if we could all do that as a board. It's just scheduling. One never knows. So I guess we'll stay tuned for that. Kevin, do you have any thoughts around trainings or whatnot?
Well, yeah, I think trainings are important. It just seems, with my experience in the background, I'm not sure how much library specific needs to be there, but a lot of other trainings need to be there. I noticed that the handbook that I got that's full of library policies has nothing about safe work atmosphere, sexual harassment things, and I'm thinking that may be because the employees are not library specific, but part of the county, and they're covered by the county, and so there would be policies later on. But that's something like that might be important to know.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's more it falls under the city's.
City.
Yeah, city. City employment policies.
Yeah, with the personnel of the library, things like that are often they're handled as a policy through the city for city personnel, and also through the union's handbook. But if it's beneficial for the board to understand it for your group or for library, like for customer interaction, like how you would deal with that in a business sense or in policy form, we could find something along those lines.
Is that something you'd like to see more about, Kevin?
Yes.
Great. Thank you. Well, and as time goes on here too, we're all just trial by fire, right? Is that the right expression? Oh.
It's one of them.
It is an expression. But we'll be learning a lot as we go. And Kevin, to your point about the experience and your background, what I'm finding, just again, I have limited experience in my other groups and committees and whatnot. Even if somebody is, it's very helpful for me to participate in a training with somebody else who has a lot of experience, because there's always another perspective, and that experience can really help, clue in on particular points or whatever that might be helpful for our specific situations and whatnot. So, but just having that similar exposure and reading off that similar page, I think, is really helpful. So whenever you see something, please give me a heads up. Or anyone for that matter, not just Kevin.
Sure.
Okay, well, Amanda, please. I would appreciate just a heads up with the Arrowhead Library System offerings, as that's pretty easy pickings there, and just a heads up for those, and which you have in the past, shown those opportunities. And as I said, I have yet to jump, but I think it could be all the more important and relevant now with the newness of us all. And then all of us, we can just keep our eyes peeled and do some searching for maybe something a little bit more, if we'd like, for into the fall. I'm really curious just where things go. I like this. The options. I don't feel like the virtual format is going to be going away. It's probably just going to be improving and increasing, and so. Yeah, I'm just really curious where that goes, and the options will just get better and better, I bet.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited about it. I feel like one of the things it might do is allow for people to participate who might not have before because of their ability to get around or their job or whatever. And I can see how the person in person might have a little bit more of a feel of what's going on, but I still think there's an opportunity there as well. I'm kind of excited about that.
Yeah, same. Okay, great. Well, any other thoughts, any other concerns, any other topics anyone has? Was there something else, Amanda? I can't remember. Our conversation wasn't that long ago, but yeah, I think that was maybe, did that give enough for now, direction?
So what I'm hearing is we can pull together some ideas for you guys that would give you different options for training, and you would be able to look through those recommendations and either choose from the menu or get more specific about what you'd like and when. And so we'll just create a tool for you to look at, and I don't think there's anything else.
Great.
Well, I have one more thing that I wanted to ask you, Amanda. I was wondering, or maybe this is something we're doing in policy committee, but I was wondering if you had heard back from, I think it was the Arrowhead Library System, about their card and whether or not you're allowed to change some of the requirements about it. Did you hear back from them?
We haven't heard back yet, and I suspect that my questions are, I think they have to do some research and think about what I'm asking, because what I'm asking for other libraries might want also. So I haven't heard back yet, but I'm due to check in.
Okay. My screen froze, but I can still talk. Oh, and I'm not frozen anymore. Okay, great. All right. Well, beyond that, our next board meeting is Thursday, April 22nd, 2021. It says 2020, but it's going to be 2021, I promise. And we can look for a motion to adjourn.
I would so move.
Thank you. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Do a roll call vote. Michael?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Dave is aye as well. We are adjourned. Thank you all. Thank you for